Rugby Championship, last and deciding game, folks, is going to be South Africa up against Argentina from Durban. We don't know what the mission is going to be for South Africa, but probably a bonus point win. We'll kind of have to wait and see how things go. We'll go through some lineups, some stats, predictions, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on how this one is going to play out. Like I said, we don't know what the mission is just yet because we still need to wait to see what the result is between the All Blacks and the Wallabies. All Blacks record at Eden Park is phenomenal. So assuming the All Blacks win, that means South Africa absolutely need to win. It may go down to bonus points. It may go down to chasing a high points differential. We will have to wait and see. But either way, I would say the South African side, in one way or another, is going to need to go out and get at least a pretty decent win at home. And for the Pumas guys, man, they'll be looking to bounce back because they were disappointing for large periods of that game last week, especially the first half. Although they did mount a wee comeback. The comeback ended up having a comeback of its own from South Africa to clinch that bonus point, which is, in the scheme of the competition, absolutely vital. For the Springboks, they have made a few changes. Guys like, remember, Damian is not available after last week. Dion Ferreira, Trevin Yakani, Andre Estes, and Elric Low. All these guys have kind of all been either sent back to their clubs or sent back for a bit of recovery. But the starting lineup is relatively stable. You still got Kitshoff, Marx, and Malherbe in the front row. And I think the starting front row did pretty well last week. It was the lack of that kind of bomb squad impact from maybe the box, but also give some credit to the Pumas bench when they came on last week, adding a bit of impact. But you have got Bongi and Mbonambi and Vincent Koch back on the bench as well, alongside Ox. So I reckon we'll probably see a bit more impact from the Springboks replacement front row as to speak, but we'll have to wait and see. Eben, Etzebeth, Lood, Jager, they start on in the second row, same as last week, same as most weeks, to be honest. Both those guys have been very good, very consistent all season. Kolisi, Pieter-Steph, Toit, and Wiese are the back row, so Pieter-Steph, he comes back into the squad. I mean, Kolisi's been having a phenomenal time of it this season. He is still captain. I mean, him and Malcolm Marx, like, those guys are the number 1 and 2 guys. Marx is 1, Kolisi's 2 for like turnovers won this season. I think Kolisi is like the second top tackler for the Springboks now. Like, yeah, those guys have been getting through a heap of work on defense. But Pieter-Steph himself is an absolute workhorse player off the ball as well. And Wiese with the ball, seeming like a kind of premier ball carrying 8 at the moment, isn't he? I mean, there's lots of guys who can fill in that 8th man jersey in South Africa, but I mean, Wiese's doing all right. He's keeping Dwayne Vermeulen on the bench, who is back in the squad, I should say. Mostert drops to the bench with Pieter-Steph's return. I thought Mostert was good last week. I mean, Pieter-Steph brings something a bit different, but either way, I think you'd be happy with both of those guys. Hendrikse and Steyn. Frans Steyn, 9 and 10. Frans Steyn is the guy to lead this Springboks squad from number 10. From what I've read, he's only played 10 once for the Springboks, and that was back in 2008, which I don't have to tell you, it's a very long time ago. So, yeah, we will see how that goes. They've resisted the urge to potentially bring in someone new and just go with Frans. So, I mean, Frans has got the experience of more than most players will get in a lifetime. So, yeah, you got to back the guy to do the job. I hope he doesn't get injured because your guys' 10 situation is looking a little bit hairy without bringing in you guys at the moment anyway. Allende and Kriel continue on at 12 and 13. Kriel got a bit of stick last week for his playmaking not being the kind of a high bar that he's got to meet, but defensively he was pretty good, and Allende with his ball carries continues to be that big blockbuster. Mapimpi and Moodie on the wings and Roux at fullback. I mean, looking at the stats of some of these guys, man, I mean, I mentioned Marx and Kolisi already. Roux's still the top guy for try assists in the competition. Mapimpi's the top guy for clean breaks in the competition. There's a lot of excitement in the South African team. And if you're wondering, like, is it just me or are they kicking a bit less than last year? They're kicking a bit less than last year. I know they still got a bit of stick for sometimes kicking at the wrong times, but this squad, all their attacking numbers, run meters, clean breaks, defenders beaten, ball in hand, are up from last year, and all their kicking numbers just tend to be down. You know, I'm a guy who likes stats. I like seeing the year-on-year stuff. Maybe still a bit too early to read into it, but that's the way it is trending for the Springboks squad. So I don't know. I like watching them. I reckon there's a lot about them, even with guys like you know, Colby and whatnot, who's a proper excitement machine, not being available. Good news is Kurtley Arons has served his suspension, so he is back on the bench. Faf de Klerk's the only other back, so it's a 6-2 split. And then Kwaka Smith, I guess, could fill in as a back in a pinch, but he's in the 21 jersey for this one. So that's your Springboks. For the Argentinians, it's also a little bit of tinkering without being kind of wholesale changes. Guys like Sinti's been really quiet this tournament, sadly. Never really got much going forward. Orlando and Gajo, these guys are all out of the 23. Imhoff comes in on the left wing, so that's your proper veteran guy there on the left wing. Well, hopefully he can add a bit more than Sinti, because Sinti, sadly, just really didn't see the ball at all when he's played left wing. It's been really like he's been invisible. So Imhoff is anything but invisible. Boffelli is on the other wing. Malia is there at fullback, so that's the same back three once you include Imhoff in there. And then De La Fuente is still at 12 alongside Moroni, who's at 13. So Moroni's got a promotion from the bench. And in terms of, again, stats, man, Moroni's been one of the top Argentinian guys. I mean, for a side that doesn't have the ball that much, like in terms of just defenders beating clean breaks, just getting the ball going forward, which is the area they've struggled a wee bit in the last few rounds. Moroni has been one of the premier guys for that. Front rowers, Chaparro, Montoya, and Bejo. That is the same front row as last week. Petty is still on the bench. Lavanini is there alongside Alemano. Gonzalez, Crema, and Matera is the same back row. Gonzalez maybe not the most famous of the three guys. I mean, Matera has been there and done a bit of everything. He is kind of genuinely a world-famous rugby player. Crema is a big abrasive unit, but Gonzalez, I love the guy, man. He chases everything. He's really quick as well. Got good skill set. So just watch for that guy. Just watch him running and running and running and running all day long. Like, he's a coach's dream player. So, yeah, we'll see how he goes. But they've also got this guy, Pedro Rubiolo, who is the replacement loose forward on his debut. I do not know him. I think he's played with the Juarez 15. We'll see how many minutes he gets, if any. I believe he's a pretty young man. I think only, was it 19? So maybe a prospect for the future, but good on him for getting his debut. Crevi, Vivas, and Sclavi are the front row replacements. You got Kubeli is still there. I thought Kubeli played well. I thought he might have ousted Bertrano for the 9 jersey, but it's still Bertrano and Carreras 9 and 10. And then Urdapajita and Delgui are back. Delgui is back. Urdapajita was there last week, but Delgui hasn't played since the Scotland series. So, I mean, I like Delgui. I mean, Imhoff's a great guy to have in there, but Delgui is something different. He's a really elusive ball runner, not the biggest guy, so he's got that kind of low center of gravity to really turn on a dime. So we'll see if he's able to add much impact. Defensively, man, like the top 6 tacklers of the Rugby Championship are Argentinian guys. But that also speaks to the fact that Argentina doesn't play with that much ball. So, yeah, guys like Lavanini and Montoya and Matera, these guys have been getting through a heap of work. And Matera has actually had more carries than anybody else in this Rugby Championship thus far. So he is an absolute key guy. Speaking of team stats, I mean, South Africa probably need to get the maul going again. We got some good pay for them last week. They mauled it like 10 times. They managed to get one of the Malcolm Marx tries directly from the maul. But there's journalists in Argentina who basically said that Argentina have been practicing maul defense all week. So we'll see which one of those comes out on top. Practicing and then going up against the Springboks maul are two very different things, but we will see. But that being said, South African scrum performers, like I mentioned, they'll want better impact from the bench. And they'll probably want better goal kicking. Frans came on and kicked a peach of a kick from the sideline. They'll be wanting to kick everything, because with that 13 point difference that the All Blacks have got as an advantage going into this game, if it does come down to points difference, every point will be vital. So they can't be going in with this kind of 50-60% goal kicking. They want to replicate those first 2 weeks when Pollard was kicking it like 100%, you know what I mean? For the Argentinians, since those 2 Australian games at the start of the competition, their attacking effectiveness, which is usually kind of not easy, but one good measure of it is like meters per carry. So like how many run meters are you getting per carry? The gold standard is usually anything above 4 is pretty tidy. Like first week against Australia, 5.4, magic. Really, really good go forward. Second week, 4.1, really good. And then it's been dropping. 3.0 against the All Blacks in that first game where they won, but largely from the boot rather than ball in hand. 2.9, 2.7. So the ability for the Argentinian boys to get forward with ball in hand has been steadily declining. And never more evident was that than last week at times when they were just up against that Springbok brick wall. So, and then they've been shipping too many tries and clean breaks in the last couple of games as well. I mean, South Africa put 36 points on them last week, and then New Zealand put a big score on them the round before that. So, yeah, what can I say, man? They need to be better in multiple areas, the Pumas this week, if they're going to have any chance of playing spoilers. Like I said, last 5 is 5-zip. To the South Africans pretty comfortably. Generally, average score 33-15. So, if you're a side searching for a bonus point win and a big margin, playing against a side who you generally beat by 18 points and have won the last 5 in a row against, on paper that's pretty good reading. But the game is not played on paper. It is from Durban. It's a 5:05 kickoff. Damon Murphy is the ref for this one, so it's not a Kiwi ref for a change for this box. It's a Australian ref. The bookies have got the South Africans by 17 points, and the Rugby Forecast algorithm has got South Africa by 18. So predicted to be pretty big winners this week. We'll have to wait and see. If you guys want to watch, it's on Flow Rugby in the States. They've got this, the URC, Top 14, NPC, bunch of rugby on. So check out the link in the description for Flow. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts. Can you see the Pumas playing spoilers? Do you think the South Africans will have a big mountain to climb? Or, with all the support of South African supporters getting behind the Wallabies for a week, maybe if the Wallabies do the Box a favour, it'll be a less complicated job. You guys let me know your thoughts, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.